Hello there, you're watching the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. It's time to see what's making the headlines with the broadcaster and commentator Ali Farage and the journalist and broadcaster Jenny Kleeman. They'll be with us from now until just before midnight. Welcome both. Now let's see what is on some of those front pages. Well, the Metro leads with Nigel Farage's pledge to detain and deport every illegal migrant if Reform UK win the election. The Eye highlights Mr Farage's promise of 600,000 deportations over 5 years of government. And that vow by the Reform UK leader is also on front of the Express. While the Telegraph focuses on the proposal to give money to the Iranian government and the Taliban for taking migrants back. The Mail commends the pledge and goes with the headline, "Finally, a politician who gets it." The Mirror is squarely against the plans, declaring Britain is better than this. And The Guardian leads on accusations of ugly populism against Mr Farage. In other stories, the Financial Times hears that Donald Trump has told European leaders the US is willing to provide intelligence and battlefield resources to bolster any pan-European security agreement that may be made for a post-war Ukraine. Meanwhile, on the front of The Sun, music superstar Taylor Swift's engagement to American footballer Travis Kelce, as does The Star with the headline, "Wedding Tay." And we're joined tonight by Ali Farage and Jenny Kleeman. Great to have you both. We will, of course, get to Taylor Swift's engagement, but there is a story obviously dominating all the front pages, and that was Nigel Farage's speech. Very different takes, obviously, on a lot of the papers. Jenny, let me start with you. I mean, we can we'll look at all the front pages. Let's start with the Metro where they quote some of the things that Nigel Farage was saying. What did you make of what he said, both the words he used and the actual policies?
Nigel Farage is the most influential, consequential politician of the last 20 years in this country, even without being in government, because his ability to pull the needle, to pull the needle of the centre in one direction, to change politics, not by actually having to have policy, but by making everybody else respond to what he's doing, is extraordinary. He has been... Reform have been leading in the polls over Labour since April. This is the big political conundrum of our age, how to stop these small boat crossings. And, maybe part of the reason why he's doing so well at the moment and Reform is doing so well is that Labour, a party with a huge mandate, don't really stand for anything when it comes to all of this. It is undoubtable that illegal migration must be addressed. But what he is suggesting here of no ifs, no buts, returning 600,000 people, including women, to countries like Afghanistan, potentially paying the Taliban, who, of course, we fought for 20 years and called terrorists, leaving 3 international conventions, the Human Rights Act, the Convention Against Torture, the 1951 Refugee Convention, in order to make sure that there can't be legal challenges for this. It's a whole bunch of stuff that will probably never happen because he'll probably never have to put it into action. The thing that's significant about this is the response from the Labour government, who have basically not said, you know what, we're better than this, we're not going to do this, we're going to tackle this another way. They're playing along. They're not saying it's morally wrong to do this, to return women and children to places where they might be tortured. They're saying, they might potentially talk to the Taliban. There's a whole bunch of things being proposed here. Migrants being housed in secure barracks. I was hearing reports about how much that was going to cost. It's apparently per place to build one of those, a secure facility where people can't escape. It costs £500,000 per place to build something like that. The numbers involved in all of this are pie in the sky, but it kind of doesn't matter. The point is that nobody has the courage, even though Labour has this huge mandate, to say, this is not who we are as a country. We're not going to tackle this problem in this way. We have standards and morals, and we believe in human rights, and this is not the answer. And some of the language that he's using, talking about invasions of fighting-age men coming into the country and the danger of mobs rising up, it's really worrying that this is now part of mainstream political discourse.
Ali, just before coming to you, were you shocked by what you heard today?
I wasn't shocked because I know that this is what Farage stands for. I'm shocked by how nobody has anything else to offer. And I'm shocked that the government, with the majority that it has, doesn't stand up and say, this is morally wrong.
Ali?
I think Nigel Farage's intervention is long overdue and sorely needed. I mean, look, we had the Tories pussyfooting around on this issue, trying to get a Rwanda deal underway. The reason why the Rwanda deal failed was because of the European Convention on Human Rights. Pyjama injunctions in the middle of the night from Strasbourg judges who wouldn't allow planes to take off. Now, the Tories can say what they want. Rwanda never got implemented because we were in the ECHR. Now, I'm not someone who likes leaving international conventions. Absolutely not. However, what we have at the moment isn't working. Labour has been in power for a year, over a year now, and the Telegraph has actually got an interesting quote here from someone who's the Prime Minister's spokesperson saying, we're not going to take anything off the table in terms of actually speaking to Eritrea and Afghanistan. We're not going to take anything off the table. Get on and do it. You're in government, for heaven's sake. So when Farage is talking about at the moment, 600,000 that he wants to return and he wants to leave all the conventions and all the rest of it. He's saying this because whatever has happened before has not worked. And this is causing tensions in the country. And yes, we have to be mindful and careful about fomenting outrage, but there is a lot of outrage and there's a lot of feeling that this is really unfair. And since when did it become really conceptually, it feels conceptually odd to me that we would allow our border to just be porous, where people come in, they apply for asylum, and 17,000 people in this country who are in the middle of their asylum applications are wandering around the streets and disappeared. It disappeared. I mean, they should be detained or they should be tagged. Now, when I say they should be tagged on my own show, people were saying, oh, this is absolutely outrageous. Why is it outrageous to police the border? I mean, we're very concerned about Ukraine's borders, quite rightly. We don't seem to be that concerned about our own. So I think people might think that this is radical. They might even think it's outrageous. It's a necessary intervention because nothing so far has worked. And he is saying it's time to get tough. And those who moan about Trump has delivered on the Mexican border.
Well,
he's taking a leaf out of this.
The Mexican border is different. Trump can have influence over Mexico, threaten Mexico with sanctions. We can't do that with France. You know, we don't have that same imbalance of power. Also, the Mexican border is a land border. It's an easier border to police. I mean, these comparisons with America is part of the whole thing with Farage, who is importing wholesale an American style of politics that doesn't necessarily work here. And, of course, the question of what happens with migrants when they're in this country, you're quite right. You know, there are so many things that we can be doing here. We could have ID cards. We could tackle the black economy, the nail bars and the car washes and all of these things, which is a pull factor for so many people coming here. But there are push factors as well. And the top 5 countries, when we're looking at the small boats crossings, they are Sudan, Eritrea, Iran, Syria and Afghanistan. We don't have arrangements with those governments. We don't have those kinds of dialogues. When we do, like we had with Albania, there are things that work. We were able to stop the flow of Albanians into this country by having a proper dialogue. And I do think, I mean, yes, the numbers are not good, you know, 50,000 in a calendar year. And the promise to smash the gangs have not been smashed. But this, we have to give the Labour government in their defence, a little bit longer to use diplomacy and use those.
It's not working,
tactics.
Jenny.
Well, it's not working right now, but hopefully it will.
The French government might fall on the 8th of September, right? Highly likely that it's going to fall. This one-in, one-out nightclub bouncer policy that has been suggested and is being implemented by this government is going to do nothing to actually reduce the numbers, which are going up. It's 45,000 in the year to June, 10,000 higher than last year. The present system is not working. Farage might be coming out with radical stuff that people find unpalatable. It's time to get radical.
Can I just take a look at 2 front pages that I think kind of highlight, and unsurprisingly, the divide over this issue? If you can pull up the Daily Mail first of all. And, of course, they lead with the Farage speech saying, finally, a politician who gets it. And then the Mirror echoing a very different point of view. The Mirror there, Britain is better than this. If we can pull up the front page of the Mirror, there it is. I mean, it's obviously a divisive issue, but it seems that the main parties, the Conservatives, Labour and Reform UK, all agree on the issue of illegal, or let's call it irregular immigration as well. And Nigel Farage seems to be, Jenny, the one that is putting forward a policy so far?
Well, I mean, I think most people would agree, most people in this country would agree that it is not right that the people are coming into this country through channels that are not legal, that can't be policed, that they can't be vetted. So coming in not through our borders, not through our border controls. I don't think there are many people who would say, that's great, I'm happy with that. And it definitely has to be tackled. The question is, how far are we prepared to go to stop it? Are we prepared to risk what makes us the law-abiding country that we are, a country who was involved in the creation of so many of these human rights laws and conventions? You know, Winston Churchill, the great hero, would be spinning in his grave at the idea that we're prepared to give up so much in this. And I say this again, Nigel Farage, in his rhetoric today, he was talking about rising anger, a risk of law and disorder as a consequence of this rising anger from these men of fighting age who are coming in. He is stoking all of this. And what he's saying here, it may never come to pass, but he is able to pull the centre so far to the right that even the Labour Party are entertaining these ideas.
But he wasn't stoking Epping. He wasn't stoking Epping. I mean, there's an ongoing case about a guy who's alleged to have sexually assaulted a young girl.
Yes,
so that's ongoing.
It's a real case.
Well, it's a real case, right?
It's absolutely a real case. But then you have Zia Youssef on the radio this morning talking about how Afghans are 20 times more likely to sexually assault people than white British people. You know, they are stoking this. And that particular case is based on a real legal case. But whenever there is this disorder, you do get the sense, and you had this in Stockport, that Farage is rubbing his hands together.
Ali, 20 seconds.
Look, I think we need to get radical. I think the time for messing around is over. And I think that the UN 1951 Refugee Convention has just become basically a smuggler's charter at the moment.
Ali, Jenny, we're going to have to leave it there for the moment. We're going to go to a quick break. But coming up, You Belong With Me, a swift engagement and a swift response from the papers. Quite a gear change there. We'll be right back.
It's like a football final with only one team on the pitch. This isn't just a call to vote, but a call to remember. The freedom fought for by the African National Congress.
I'm Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky's Africa correspondent based in Johannesburg, South Africa.
A cyclone and 2 burst dams wiped out hundreds of generational homes.
This was the second dam that the floodwaters hit before it tore into Derna.
We are in the heart of Nairobi, and we're watching as protesters were heavily tear gassed.
The sheer fearlessness and persistence of these guys is astonishing.
We help you understand the world with us. I remember going into the iconic Omdurman market in the heart of Sudan's capital for the first time since the war started. And this is what's left of it. Bullet holes through buildings, shelled balconies, bullet cases on the floor. I witnessed the complete destruction of a place linked to my childhood memories and the lives of millions of people. This is insane. This was a bustling residential area. So many friends who lived here. My most memorable interview was with a 15-year-old boy who'd survived being stranded on a migrant boat on its way from Senegal to the Canary Islands.
After 13 days, our food, water and fuel supply ran out.
I felt awe when we saw the mountain gorillas in Rwanda.
They call him the king of the jungle. This is the alpha silverback.
Sky News. Get the Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky News.
A show of military might and menace. Why should the West trust you?
Frankly, I don't care whether the West trusts us or not.
Sky News. Get the full story first.
Have a quick word for Sky News. Is the West right? Are you fueling Russia's war machine? American journalist Evan Gershkovich is on trial here, but was first on display.
I'm Ivor Bennett, Sky's Moscow correspondent.
Our app
gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos, analysis, up at 6%. Podcasts, watching us live.
Joins us live.
All in one place, and all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
I'm David Blevins, and I'm Sky's senior Ireland correspondent. I've spent 30 years reporting the journey from conflict to peace. The end of the political stalemate, the start of a new chapter for Northern Ireland. Catholics and Protestants now facing the same threat.
If we both contract COVID-19, religion's nothing.
Sky News, the full story first.
Welcome back. You're watching the press preview with me in the studio, Jenny Kleeman and Ali Mirage. Let's go straight to the Financial Times, sort of international story, but might have an impact on Europe and the UK. Headline here, US offers air and command backup for Ukraine force. And Ali, if I can start with you, this is all about, you know, what a post when some kind of ceasefire resolution is found between Ukraine and Russia, the role that the US might actually have.
This is very important because France and the UK are really leading this coalition of the willing, which is meant to be putting troops on the ground to basically police a ceasefire on an ongoing basis in Ukraine. Now, there are all sorts of day-to-day issues with that, how it would be implemented, what would happen if UK and French troops were fired upon by the Russians. But the thing that the coalition of the willing have wanted is US air support and intelligence and surveillance support as well. Now, that seems to be on offer from the US now, so the Trump administration has moved. The thing that they don't want, the White House does not want under any circumstances, is US boots on the ground. They do not want to go there, but this is definitely a step in the right direction. But the question is this actually going to get anywhere? Are these discussions actually going to yield anything? Because Trump wants it over. He's tired of it now. We've had these discussions recently. He met Putin, of course, and then there were the discussions with Zelensky and European leaders. But they're really thorny, difficult issues to be hammered out. That all remains to be seen, whether there's going to be any sort of agreement, which will involve, sadly, land for peace.
Yeah, and interesting, in the news conference he was giving a little bit earlier, he specifically said this was going to be the one that I thought was going to be easy to solve, and apparently, guess what, it hasn't been.
Yes, I mean, we all remember. I could get it done in a day. And then, you know, I'm old enough to remember 2 weeks ago where he was saying, we'll have a deal. That's what I do. I do deals.
Yeah.
It's complicated. And perhaps, you know, this information that has been told to the Financial Times is a sign of that frustration, that he cannot even get Putin and Zelensky in the room together.
Yeah. I guess that story shows the influence of the US in trying to solve a European war. Let's look at another story and another war in The Guardian. This is the conflict in Gaza, and there was that dreadful attack on Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis in the south of Gaza yesterday by the Israelis. 20 people killed, and basically now the UN has demanded that Israel's investigation hold those responsible accountable for the deaths. Jenny.
The UN is completely toothless in all of this. Everybody is toothless apart from the US. You have now some uprising, some quite significant blockades on roads within Israel, protests in Tel Aviv. You know, there is a kind of across the board a sense that this must end, has to end now. We have famine, we have doctors being killed, hospitals, journalists. You know, it is beyond the pale, and yet nobody can stop Netanyahu apart from the US. So although we've had some rhetoric from Donald Trump, it's not enough. So it's all very well the UN calling for justice over killings. I mean, we need this war to end. Then there needs to be a sense of justice. But, you know, the UN has been toothless in all of this.
Yeah. And we have seen today in Israel, both in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, thousands of people out on the streets. I mean, mainly protesting about the issue of hostages, 20 still alive, and trying to get a deal to have them freed. But, you know, also people increasingly talking about what is actually going on in Gaza for the Palestinians.
Well, there was a deal, and there is an understanding that Hamas offered a deal. Now, Netanyahu's up the stakes. He wants all the hostages released in one go. Apparently, there could be up to 20 to 50 still alive. We don't know, and bodies of others, very sadly. We'll see what happens there. But the situation is dire. You've got 62,000 people who have died. Yes, many of them could be Hamas fighters. A lot of them won't be, and many of them include kids. You've also got a famine. You've also got the military now moving into Gaza City and displacing people from their homes. And you've also got a broader plan on behalf of some people in the Israeli government that want to see people forcibly removed from their homes and relocated to third countries, very openly. So it's a dire situation on many, many fronts. And you've got the hostage families, understandably, in anguish, just to want to get their loved ones back. And we know that Netanyahu's in a tight spot and he's got, obviously, cases against him and wants to keep this war going. But it's absolutely dire, and it's very difficult to see how it ends.
I mean, the UN being toothless, as Jenny said, and, we all know that the US is the main, power behind all of this. But what do you think the role of the UK, other European countries could be, the rest of the West, if you will? Is there one, really?
To put pressure on the US. The role of the UK.
Do you think that's being done enough or not?
I think the one thing that we do have is we have a Prime Minister who is good at dealing with Donald Trump, as it has been shown thus far. And I think that's the only thing that we can do is urge him to take a stronger stand. But, the US is the only government that can make any difference.
All right.
Yep.
We have a minute left. We have a lighter story, a love story. So let's look at the front page of The Sun. Headline there, look what you made me do. You either know Taylor Swift songs and you get that, or you don't. And it's Taylor Swift, who is now newly engaged. Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, her love life is her material, so I wonder what her output is going to be like.
If they divorce, imagine the songs.
Well, maybe, I mean, he's a big star too. He's won the Super Bowl 3 times. He's got a big podcast. She is the biggest megastar in music for a very long time. It's very nice they're getting married. The Times already has a big analysis of her engagement ring by somebody called Jessica Diamond.
Brilliant name.
Anyone who's not into Taylor Swift, you should put yourself in a coma for the next 2 years or however long.
Apparently it's a £400,000 ring.
I heard it was $1 million.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
It's quite big, though, in fairness.
Yeah.
It's quite big.
It's a princess.
You wouldn't expect anything.
Even Donald Trump said it was.
Yes, he
was very gracious.
Wishes.
Yeah, sent his best wishes.
He did.
Good luck.
Anyway, on that note, we're going to have to leave it there. I'll see you at the top of the 11 for more. Coming up next on Sky News at 11, we're going to have reaction and analysis to Reform UK leader Nigel Farage's plans to deport thousands of asylum seekers.